Due to the graphic nature of this program, viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, everyone. It is the Tuesday, April 14th, 2026 episode of the Marco Dure Show. Thank you for tuning in to hear today's groundbreaking news right here in America and across the board, where the facts are facts and hard truths thrive. Let's begin the best hour of radio, informative, uncensored, unapologetic, and ready to go. Folks, we got so many great articles for you today. I know you're going to enjoy each and every one of them. We'll talk about the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit about the blowback from President Trump's depiction of himself on social media as Jesus Christ. We've also got some great articles talking about Amnesty and the environment and law enforcement in the United States, all that and more. But first, I think we got to talk about the bombshell that's going on inside the Beltway this morning. And that, of course, is out of the article I have for us in The Hill. Eric Swalwell and Tony Gonzales are now exiting Congress and trying to get out of the spotlight they've put themselves in. And this is really disgraceful. This is really disgraceful, what's going on between the both of them. Eric Swalwell, obviously, to a much worse degree. But the dual announcements from both Eric Swalwell and Tony Gonzales on Monday that they now plan to leave Congress has now shifted the spotlight away from two other Congress members. We've got Sheila McCormick, Corey Mills. They're involved in some, campaign finance issues and what have you. Obviously, that's no good, and obviously that should be looked at, and they should be tried accordingly. But what these two have done, it just goes to another degree that just makes people sick to their stomach. For the past 3 days now, since the blistering allegations of the sexual assault specifically against Eric Swalwell surfacing now, has called for the resignation of both of these two. And I think if they were not willingly to go out on their own, I think we would see the resolutions of expulsion from lawmakers on both sides of the aisle after what we've learned about both of them. Just a thought I'd have to tell you. Now, this obviously comes as a shock. I was not expecting Eric Swalwell to come out and say that he was going to be resigning from Congress yesterday evening. That was the last thing I thought I would have ever heard in my entire life, that Eric Swalwell would be announcing that he would be leaving his run for the governor of California, and of course then resigning his seat in Congress. The allegations, though, now against him are getting so terrifying. And what do I mean by that? There are so many women now that are coming forward saying that he either messaged them in an appropriate way on Snapchat, sending lewd pictures, lewd conversations, nothing plutonic. Let me just put it to you that way. Nothing friendly. This is just crossing the line. But one survivor came forward yesterday, speaking on CNN, talking about her interactions with Eric Swalwell, and they pushed the limits of sexual abuse, sexual assault, and of course, even possibly rape. Let me not waste any of your time. Let's just listen to her speak in her own words and explain exactly what took place. This first clip that I'm going to play you took place in 2019 when she was working for Eric Swalwell as a staffer. Take a listen.
The five of us were having some drinks. At some point, it was time to go home. I got in an Uber. I was taken to the Aloft Dublin Pleasanton where he was staying. And I don't remember what happened that night. But I know that there was sexual contact. Because when I woke up in the morning, I could feel that there was. And he said as much, too.
What did he say?
That last night was great. It didn't feel great to me because I didn't remember it.
And so you blacked out and you end up in his hotel room and wake up with him.
Yes.
Now that is obviously disgraceful. This is a married man. This is a sitting member of Congress, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to hold ourselves to a higher standard than this. This is disgraceful, what we're hearing right now. A woman's in his hotel room, blacks out, and doesn't realize what's happening to her. Now, if that's not bad enough, this took place another time, ladies and gentlemen. Yep, another time. Eric Swalwell wasn't done yet. Now, Again, this woman claims now in 2021 that this situation, the similar situation, took place yet again. Let's take a listen to that one.
I decided to ask him to meet me for a drink. And I did this because I was so far removed from what had happened in 2019. I felt safe because I was established. I had a partner. I felt more secure that I could have a strictly professional relationship with this person. After that bar closed, we went to another. I went to the bathroom, and I don't remember anything after that.
You don't remember anything?
I remember the next day, I can see flashes of that evening, of him on top of me pushing him off, him grabbing me. It was a lot more aggressive. It was aggressive.
Did you say no?
Yes, I said no. In my flash that I can recall, I was pushing him off of me saying no.
And what did he do?
He didn't stop.
He didn't stop. And you woke up the next morning?
I woke up the next morning naked, alone in his hotel room.
So this just gets worse and worse. Now we're talking about possibly drugging a young woman, taking her back to your hotel room, ignoring her pleas of no, and then sexually assaulting her. Essentially, rape is what took place here. That's what is being alluded here. Now, obviously, ladies and gentlemen, this is very, very damning. This is very troubling to hear. And obviously, if true, this means that Eric Swalwell needs to be tried and convicted of this, obviously. You know me, I say everyone's innocent until proven guilty. Eric Swalwell, like anybody, should have his day in court. But if these allegations are true, and it seems like they're very credible, her mother can account, obviously, that this took place. She had sent people text messages right afterwards that this interaction took place. And she even went to a doctor just a week later to test for STIs and what have you. And then the doctor herself called her a survivor. So there's obviously things we can look into that say, okay, there's obviously other things other than her word that signify that something nefarious took place there. Now, that didn't stop Eric Swalwell yesterday from going to X to post. And he's saying that he's innocent of the most serious accusations against him, but he wants to fight them privately to spare his family and his constituents the indignity of enduring the scandal. He went on to say, I'm deeply sorry to my family, staff, and constituents for mistakes and judgment I've made in my past. Oh, really? Like what you did with Fang Fang? You're sleeping with a Chinese spy, you putz you? Disgraceful. He goes on to say, I will fight the serious false allegations made against me. However, I must take responsibility and ownership for the mistakes I did make. So in other words, he's saying, for example, that well, there's some things I did wrong, but, these really bad things you heard about me, not really. Not so much. Is this guy kidding me? Does anyone even believe Eric Swalwell ever? Guy's just so disingenuous, so disgraceful. It's unbelievable. So Eric Swalwell is done. Eric Swalwell is out. Eric Swalwell will never be governor of California. He will never be in Congress again. He is a disgrace. Absolute disgrace. And if these allegations are true, he needs to be tried for this. This is unbecoming of anybody, first of all, especially someone supposed to be representing his constituents and the people in Northern California. So I'm glad to see Eric Swalwell gone. Bon voyage. Nice knowing you. Never come back. Never come back. And by the way, Congress needs to follow up with this as well, too. This cannot just go away. If there is actual credible information that he is assaulting young staffers, raping them, essentially, then he needs to be going down for this. This cannot go away like this. Not at all. Now, Tony Gonzales, similar situation, similar predicament going on several months. Obviously, we've known about this, that he had an extramarital affair with a staffer who later died by setting herself on fire. I don't know what all that is about. But he's also facing these accusations of sending sexually explicit messages to a former campaign aide, for example, things of that nature, things that are just disgraceful, things you would never expect of your congressional leader. But this obviously is toppling the House of Cards, obviously, and these two wanted to get out. before it got too bad, before I got too much into the spotlight. So, again, Tony Gonzales, a little on the lesser extreme, of course. Obviously, this is not behavior you would expect from somebody representing you. This is just disgraceful for both of them. Eric Swalwell's even more so. So that, obviously, ladies and gentlemen, is no good. I'm glad to see they're both going to be gone. But we can't just let these things go away. If any wrongdoing was done, especially against a woman's will, this needs to be brought to the attention of, obviously, the authorities. And I think we'll see some follow-ups with this. This should just not go away. Certainly, this should just not go away. Now, it says here the House Ethics Committee last month announced that a panel had proven 25 of 27 counts of ethics violations against McCormick, the other one involved in this scrutiny, who was under federal indictment over allegations she stole $5 million from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA. Can you believe that? Using it for personal use? Disgusting. Again, we talk about fraud, folks. Look at the fraud that takes place just in Congress. Now, the committee has scheduled a hearing for April 21st to determine what kind of sanctions would be appropriate to take against her. Obviously, folks, if you're stealing $5 million from taxpayer-funded FEMA, I think it's time you went away. Just a thought. Just a thought, I think. We can all agree on that. It's unbelievable. It really is. When you hear these things, it's almost unbelievable, but it also isn't unbelievable. These people should be under the most scrutiny, especially with their finances. But this is where we are right now, folks. These are our elected leaders in 2026. It's disgraceful. In and of itself, it's disgraceful. So, again, I'm glad to see that this is coming to light. These people are not representing us. They are representing themselves and their own interests only. That's what it comes down to. Eric Swalwell's no different. Tony Gonzales is no different. McCormick, Mills, they're no different. And if this is how they're going to behave themselves, they need to leave. They're not acting on the behalf of America. They're acting on the behalf of themselves. How are they going to enrich themselves? Now, we talk about things like insider trading, for example. That's bad enough. But this just goes much, much worse. When we see elected leaders stealing campaign contributions or stealing from things like FEMA, it's horrible. It's horrible to see these things. So I'm hopefully glad that this is all getting sorted out. Again, Swalwell, Gonzales, obviously they need to be looked at. Gonzales took to X yesterday saying, "There is a season for everything, and God has a plan for us all. When Congress returns tomorrow, I will file my retirement from office." Now, of course, it's been a privilege to serve the great people of Texas. What have you done for the people of Texas, Mr. Gonzales? Seriously, what have you done? Does anybody know? No, nobody knows. Nobody can point to anything they've done. What has Eric Swalwell done for the people of California? Can anyone give me one thing he's done that's made California a better place to live? Upon taking office, I think in 2013, if I'm not mistaken. No, nobody can point to anything. Folks, these people say one thing and they do the exact opposite. And sadly, not much gets done with these people in office. Let me just put it to you that way. All right, folks, let's move on. We've got other great topics to discuss, and let's keep the show moving. Let's move on to what's taking place in the Strait of Hormuz. Obviously, that's a big talk of what's going on. We know yesterday the blockade was effective yesterday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard. It's on the BBC. It says that the United States says no ships passed through its blockade in the first 24 hours, adding that 6 merchant vessels complied with the direction from U.S. forces and turned around. However, at least 4 Iranian-linked ships, including 2 that visited Iranian ports, crossed through the Strait of Hormuz on Tuesday following the start of the blockade. At least 3 others also crossed the key shipping channel. So it's unknown if these ships will be stopped at some point, if anything will happen. I do have to tell you, though, President Trump went on to say just this morning that any ship, threatening them, essentially, any ship that tries to evade the U.S. Navy by using Iranian ports or is an Iranian ship of their own, they will be sunk if they try to pass through this blockade. Now, again, if that happens, I see that as just another act of war. If you have a Chinese ship that is traversing the Strait of Hormuz after leaving an Iranian port with oil, and they sink that ship, I think that's going to be a call for war for some of these countries, that the United States is sinking their vessels in international waters. That's the way I see it. I don't know if that will happen. We know that China's foreign ministry is calling that blockade dangerous and irresponsible, while Iran calls it a violation of its own sovereignty. Again, that they're essentially controlling the strait. This is what it's come down to, folks. This is what this war has brought us. Nothing but disaster. Nothing but global chaos. And it's not proving anything better. So we wanted the strait to be open. That was one of the concessions we wanted. And then we go on and say, no, we're going to make a blockade, but of your ships this time. Anyone that's associated with you. It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. So if this really gets enforced by the United States, if the United States will actually be ridiculous enough to stop a ship, and by the way, this could be dangerous for our troops in the region, too. If you stop a ship and don't expect any type of retaliation from them. I mean, what are we going to do? Drop people in through helicopter and stop the ship? Board the ship illegally? I mean, what's going to be really taking place here? It's going to be putting our men at risk. And especially if we're sinking ships in the North Arabian Sea, that's going to be another cause for concern, especially, obviously, Chinese, Russian, Indian ships, Iranian ships. That puts our troops, our sailors, our military men at great risk, folks. Again, I don't know how this would even be enforced, to be honest with you. I really have no idea how this would even happen. I mean, are we really going to pull our ships that much closer? Our ships right now are about 700 miles out. We don't have many ships in the region. We have 12 really to 15 in the region. That could really maybe try to do something. But this is not going to go well. I'll just put it to you that way. If we actually try to stop a ship, I'm not talking about a ship that approaches the strait and turns around. I'm talking about a ship that actually crosses over in maritime trade, trying to go to their said destination. If we try to stop those ships, if we take those ships, if we take their oil, if we sink them, this is going to be very disastrous. And it will not end very well, I think, for the United States. I just don't believe so. I don't think there's anything to gain from doing this. And by the way, the Iran war is expected now to cost $1 trillion, folks. Isn't that nice? I hope everyone paid their taxes already. Obviously, the deadline's tomorrow, April 15th. Hope you all paid your taxes so we can continue these wars of choice and wars of aggression with no objective one in sight. By the way, what objectives have been won so far? Anything? Nothing. Nothing's been gained from this. Iran hasn't been stopped. Not at all. Nothing's gotten better. Nothing's gotten safer. So again, I don't understand the whole purpose of this closing of the strait again, to block the strait that's already blocked. But what good does that do? How does that get people to the negotiating table? It doesn't. It's unbelievable. And by the way, the IMF, this is out of the Wall Street Journal, warns of deep global turndown if war is prolonged. Yep. This is getting worse, folks, than, for example, the 1973 oil crisis. Much more disruptive to the global energy markets, something like we have not seen in quite some time. It'll be even worse than all of that. And by the way, what they're estimating, this is what they're forecasting. Take a listen to this. World economic growth could fall to about 2% in 2026 as sluggish rates seen only during the deepest recent turndowns. This is unbelievable. This is all our doing. None of this was necessary. We've done this on our own. It's not like we had a supply chain issue, right? Or we have, an issue with supply itself. This is just we are putting things in standstill. We are lobbing missiles into Iran. We're killing civilians. We're destroying civilian infrastructure. They're responding in kind by destroying our military bases, our military installations, our radar systems. That's estimated to cost over $100 billion. What was the point of all this? And now we've got a global chokehold on the Strait of Hormuz now. 20% of the global oil supply not going anywhere, primarily. And now we have the Houthis that can essentially shut down the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, essentially shutting down all the traffic inside of the Red Sea. What good is that going to do? This war needs to stop, folks. It needs to stop now. Because every day that clock is running, it gets bigger and bigger. The issuance of the possible global shutdown, we see this now. We see multilateral forecasts often serve as these benchmarks for private and official forecasters around the world, they're saying that this could be adverse and severe now. It's amazing to me. Oil would be about an average of $80 a barrel this year on the global markets. Might grow to about 3.1% year over year. That's what the IMF projected. But now we're seeing oil, what? I mean, it's just going upwards now. It's not even slowing down now with this rhetoric that we try to use. Let me just pull this up for you really quick. I'm going to see what oil is right now today. I haven't checked CNBC yet. Oil today, it's about stable. It's down just a little bit, still in the 90s. So we're still up about $30 from where we were before. It says U.S. oil prices fall more than 6% as the White House considers further talks with Iran. This is all bluster. We have no concept of talking with Iran. We left after 21 hours of the United States saying, this is what we want. This is our ultimatum. Take it or leave it. If not, we're going to walk away. And the Iranians said, we're not taking it. We're not going to do this. We don't want this. This is the problem we find ourselves in, time and time again. Now, in this adverse scenario, which assumes that this war persists on, which, again, it will. It's going to go on. Trump has already asserted that this war could possibly go on, probably as much as maybe November. He said gas prices could stick around that high till November. I guess this is more short-term pain for long-term gain. What that gain is, I have no idea. But we're right around that $100 a barrel mark. And the global growth might fall just yet again. Global inflation could rise as much as 5.4%. This is the global inflation. That's just indicative to one country. So all these things are very troubling, obviously, to hear all this, especially when you have the International Monetary Fund coming out and saying these things. That this is getting really problematic, folks. This is putting a chokehold on the global supply, not just of oil, but again, of all goods. Because again, how do you get your goods to market? You have to use oil. You have to use a vehicle. You have to ship it somehow, whether it be in the high seas or through transportation on land. All of that requires oil. And when you offset that, if you upend that, then we have this world economic growth that is getting shut down. Day after day, the more this goes on, this is a big problem. And by the way, the pain is far from extended from just this war. It's not just in what's taking place inside the Persian Gulf, which again is detrimental to the countries in that region. Make no mistake about it. They're on life support right now, essentially. Now, Iran can hold off for this. They can. They have other means of transportation. But when you look at the UAE, when you look at Bahrain, when you look at Qatar, when you look at Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, they're struggling right now. And it's not getting any better for them. It's just not. And a lot of them rely on imports coming into the country with food, with water, with obviously using desalination. When this gets shut down, when you shut down their main source of GDP, which again is oil exports, this is problematic for these countries. I said to you a while back when this first started, just closing the airport inside of the UAE was costing the country $500 million a day. I want you to think about that for a second. $500 million that would be coming in that country is no longer coming into that country, just in that one aspect, because of this war that we have decided we want to embark on. Really for Israel. Again, I can't say it any other way than it is. We went into this war for Israel. And again, if you don't believe me, I'll just refer you to what Marco Rubio said. Israel was going in. We decided, hey, we better go in too because we don't want to get hit first. We thought it'd be better to go in with them and strike with them versus being us waiting for them to attack us. That's what he said. They tried to backtrack a little bit, but there's no way he could get away from that at that point. When you have Peter Doocy telling you, Netanyahu calls up President Trump the day before and says, listen, we've got all our eggs in one basket. We have the Ayatollah, we got the members from the IRGC, we got the military in there. This is a perfect time to strike. That just tells you there's no imminent threat. This isn't about nuclear. This isn't about the ballistic missiles. This was about regime change. This was about Israel's wanting regime change in the region. So they become the regional hegemony. That's what it all comes down to. And there is no off-ramp for Trump at any point. Any off-ramp he has at this point is going to make him look very bad. because he will have to give something to the Iranians. In the terms of economic sanctions, allowing them enrichment of a certain level at least, allowing them to now control the Strait of Hormuz. This is now on the table. They've decided, hey, we're going to charge fees for anyone crossing over the strait now. We control this strait. This is our turf now. We're going to control this. They want a mutually security agreement now with the United States and Israel. They are not going to attack Iran. And, of course, they want their neighbors in Lebanon, in Gaza, the Palestinians. They want Israel to stop bombing them. That's why you see the Houthis entering this conflict primarily, too. That's why they're continuing to lob missiles into Israel right now. All this is on the table. They said, this is what we want. This will get us to stop this war. This will get us to move away. And this will end everything. The United States said, no, we can't do that. And we know this because Israel said no. How do we know that? Because we know that he called J.D. Vance at least once during this negotiation that we had last Saturday. And we know that Witkoff and Kushner, I hate to tell you this, but obviously they're both Zionists. I don't think that's unknown to anyone that pays attention to what's going on. And they work on also behalf of Israel. So that's why they were in the meeting. So, folks, I wish I had better news for you on this. Obviously, it's not exploding what's taking place in the Middle East into a worse war. We're not seeing our ships sunk right now. We're not seeing civilian targets being hit inside of Iran. But what we're seeing, obviously, is detrimental not only to the world economy, but to us as well. And there's no off-ramp at this point. There really is no off-ramp. If we're not going to sit down and reasonably negotiate, there is no off-ramp. You got high inflationary numbers, estimating to be that of the early 2020s. I mean, this is where we are now. Do we really want to go back to that? What we saw in 2020 after the global economy shut down? Is this really what we want? This is what's being forecast right now. And we're already experiencing a fragile economy inside the United States. Things can get much, much worse. I'll just leave it to you at that. Again, I wish I had better news for you on this. I wish things were getting better, not worse. But everything we're looking at is pushing us to get much, much worse. That's what it's coming down to. And I'll leave you with this. It says here that the pain from an extended war would fall unevenly across the globe, based on the disruptions felt to date, just as of right now. That's not even if this war continues on for the next couple of months, which it probably will. It says here the IMF lowered projected 2026 growth in the Middle East by 2 percentage points. Yep, down to 1.9%. It also dropped projected growth in Europe by 0.2% to 1.1%. Look at the economies of Europe. I mean, they're already in recessions. Now, this is going to make it even worse. And by 0.1 percentage points to China by 4.4% is what their GDP would be. So everything is contracting. It's not expanding. We want things to grow. We want things to get better. And we know that our GDP growth is very limited. It's around 2% right now. It's not where we want it to be. Remember, folks, we elected President Trump to fix the economy, not to dampen or keep it flatline, which is exactly what it is right now. So again, I ask you, the listener, we're in a midterm year. Do you want to see global growth? Or do you want to see us flatlining right now? Essentially stagnation right now. You add that high inflationary numbers in there, you're going to have dragflation. High inflation and economic growth diminishing. That's what it comes down to. I don't think anyone wants this. I think we want jobs to come back to the United States. I think we want to start manufacturing. And I think we want to see good paying jobs come back. I think we want to start producing for ourselves. And I think we'd like to see that the economy would boom as a result of that. We're not doing that. We're invested in war. Is China invested in war right now? No, they're investing in themselves. That's why they're told Iran, hey, listen, you got to go talk to these guys. You got to try to at least end this because this is affecting us now. And don't give me the Trump is playing 5D chess right now. Yeah, 5D chess. Okay. I think we're losing in that 5D chess then, if that's the case. And folks, by the way, if you think I'm just being facetious about this, that, this is getting worse for the United States, not better. And if you think this war is just going to end with where we are now, it's not. It's actually looking to expand further. What do I mean by that? This is out of the Free Press Journal. Listen to this. This just shows you, folks, Greater Israel is dictating our policy, certainly our foreign policy in the Middle East. It says here, if war breaks out and Pakistan fails to establish peace, it is our duty to attack Israel, is what President Erdogan of Turkey has now stated. Didn't we just hear Netanyahu the other day say that, that Turkey needs to be removed from NATO? Why is that, by the way? Well, because if Israel invades Turkey, that's a NATO country. Therefore, Article 5 would exist. One country is attacked, everyone goes to their aid. That means the United States would have to go to work for Turkey, or Turkiya is what they're calling themselves now. Excuse me. But now he's warning that Turkey may act against Israel if this war escalates and Pakistan fails to broker peace, which, again, we saw that fall apart. His remarks come amid stalled U.S.-Iran talks, with Washington offering a final deal and Tehran showing no urgency to do so. Tensions remain high, with the Strait of Hormuz emerging as a key flashpoint in this crisis. So now we've got Turkey eyeing what's going on, especially with what's happening in Lebanon right now. Again, the possible taking of the land in southern Lebanon, south of the Litani River. That's very urgent, obviously. But Erdogan understands something. He understands that they're next, because part of Turkey is a part of that Greater Israel project. So is parts of Saudi Arabia. So is all of Jordan. So is much of Syria and Iraq, by the way. Just so we're all clear about this. And by the way, so is Pakistan. Again, if you think I'm making it up, go take a look at it. Don't just take my word for it. Take a look at it. Now, Erdogan has issued a sharp warning to Israel now, vowing potential action if diplomatic efforts fail to de-escalate the ongoing conflict. In a strongly worded statement, Erdogan accused Israel of carrying out attacks that disregard human values, escalating tensions across West Asia. Well, no kidding. He's been doing that for, almost 2 years now, at least? Over 2 years. This is where we are right now, folks. Now we have Turkey trying to come into the conflict now. So it's amazing. We're seeing so many fronts opening up right now. We're not seeing, obviously, NATO come to help us. It's just us on our own against Iran at this point. And what's taking place in Gaza, in the West Bank, that's still going on. What's taking place with Lebanon is not stopping, despite there being so-called talks that may occur very soon. It's going to be on their terms, though. They're not going to make concessions to Lebanon. Of course not. Look what we just did in Pakistan. We went in there. We're obviously the ones that called for the meeting, though. We want the meeting. It's not the Iranians. They went on behalf of China. And we said, you must do X, Y, and Z for us. And if you don't, you obviously don't want peace. That's really what it was all about. J.D. Vance blew it. 100%. He blew his chance to be a statesman and broker peace. Again, he went in there, obviously, already losing. Right? He had to consult with President Trump, 11 times? Netanyahu once? He was never going to come out with peace, ladies and gentlemen. It was never going to happen. That's why I told you on Friday's show, don't hold your breath about any peace brokering tomorrow. We all hoped it would. I wish it would have, but it didn't. And again, I'm not shocked. And as the result, we see now we have this blockade. That's getting out of control very soon. Just believe me when I tell you this. If the United States tries to take any ships of China, of Pakistan, of Iran, of Russia, things are going to get much, much worse. You will see other countries get involved in this. And this is where we are now. Israel's not stopping in Gaza. They're not stopping to the north in Lebanon. They're just not going to stop. Why? Because no one's making them stop. And of course, Trump doesn't have Netanyahu do anything he doesn't want to do. So Trump will talk a big game, but nothing changes. And this is where we are. So they're using our weaponry that we give them, with the money we give them, right? We pay for their entire military, folks. So anything they do, whether it be bombing in Gaza, bombing in Lebanon, bombing in Syria, Iraq, wherever they are, that's with our military munitions. Just wanted to be clear on that. So we pay for all this devastation. All the devastation you see in Gaza was done with our taxpayer dollars, folks. All the bombing that's taking place in Lebanon to the north, where they're supposed to be having a ceasefire right now, is with our money, your money, our taxpayer dollars, the money we print out of the Fed. That's all on us. How we allow this to happen, again, is beyond me. But it just goes to show you that lobby is very, very strong, folks. Very, very strong. Now, Erdogan condemned Israel for the killing of civilians in Lebanon, which I guess, according to the Israelis, is just fine. We have 93%. Can you believe that? 93% of Israelis think that what's taking place in Gaza, what's taking place in Lebanon, is fine. Everything is fine. He described Israel's actions as part of a genocide network, intensifying his criticism and signaling of a more aggressive stance from Turkey. Meanwhile, the United States is attempting to revive diplomacy with Iran. Yeah, right. After talks in Islamabad ended without agreement, President Donald Trump has backed what officials described as a final and best offer to Tehran. Listen, let me tell you something. When you've been attacked and you're winning a conflict, you're not going to say, oh, yes, whatever you want, United States. You killed our supreme leader. You've killed 165 schoolgirls. You killed the whole women's volleyball team. Whatever you want. Just please tell us what you want and we'll do exactly what you want. Okay? You want us to destroy our ballistic missile system so we can't do anything to defend ourselves ever from possible further attacks from Israel that is completely unhinged? Yeah, we'll get rid of those. Don't worry about it. Any enrichment you want, we'll give it right to you. We'll give it right to you. Oh, you don't want us to enrich anything? Oh, we won't do that. Yes. Anything you want. It's not going to happen, folks. The Iranians came with a plan, with evidence, with what they want, with their experts, and we came with Vance, Witkoff, and Kushner. What a team. My God. And by the way, Iran signals no urgency with this. They're very much fine. They've indicated they're in no hurry to move forward. They're content with what they're doing right now. It is us that are in trouble. That's really what it comes down to. So they're happy with keeping things as is. They've made known what their 10 points are. Trump said that they were negotiable, but of course they were not. They were not. And now we have the Strait of Hormuz showdown, obviously escalating tensions right now, possibly bringing other foes into the region, possibly China. What about Japan, by the way? What if a ship is going to one of our allies, Japan, and we decide to take that ship and take that oil after it's been paid for? What's going to happen next? You think Iran's going to sit there and go, that's okay. That's fine. Absolutely fine. Folks, I think you're going to see Iran crank it up a notch. I think they've made it very clear what they can and what they cannot do. And I think it's a lot more than what we thought they could do. So, while I wish cooler heads will prevail, I don't see that happening anytime soon. You can take that to the bank with you. Let's move on now. Let's move on. And while that's unfolding, let's take a look at a story from USA Today. Let's look at this backlash Trump is now facing for sharing an image of himself pertaining to be Jesus Christ or a Christ-like figure. This is unbelievable, by the way. J.D. Vance, who, by the way, is a Catholic like I am, said that the post was a joke. Oh, fantastic. Joking about being Jesus Christ, I guess. During Easter, of all time. Have you heard of anything so ridiculous in your entire life? It's not funny. Did anyone find that as a joke? What was the joke, by the way? I don't understand this. He said yesterday with Brett Baer, I think the president was posting a joke. And, of course, he took it down because he recognized that a lot of people weren't understanding his humor in that case. What was the humor, Mr. Vance? Seriously, what was so funny? What was the joke about that? I don't understand this. The vice president also said he thinks Trump likes to mix it up on social media. Yeah, I guess he does like to mix things up. He didn't even know what the hell he was talking about. Can you believe this nonsense? Again, during Easter, folks. During Easter. He was asked about this yesterday, Trump. And he didn't have a good answer, so he tries to, BS the reporter, of course. And I'll let you hear it for yourself. This is exactly why I think Trump, I don't know. I don't understand where he's coming from with a lot of this, why he's attacking the Pope for being anti-war. What does he think the Pope is going to be for war? It's unbelievable. Anyways, here was Trump yesterday being asked about the post of him as Jesus Christ. Take a listen.
Mr. President, did you post that picture of yourself depicted as Jesus Christ?
Well, it wasn't depicted. It was me. I did post it, and I thought it was me as the doctor, and it had to do with Red Cross as a Red Cross worker there, which we support. And only the fake news could come up with that one. So I just heard about it, and I said, how did they come up with that? It's supposed to be me as a doctor making people better, and I do make people better. I make people a lot better.
Okay, what is he talking about here? He thought that Jesus was a Red Cross worker? Is that what we're being told? He thought that was actually a doctor, even though he's wearing religious garb that Jesus wore. It's amazing to me. I mean, come on. It's blasphemy, folks. It's idolatry. It's everything we as Catholics and Christians should be eschewing right now and calling out. This isn't funny. Now, Vance went on to say, I actually think it's one of the good things about this president, that he is not filtered. He doesn't send everything through a communications professional. He actually reaches out directly to the people. Okay, well, that was a big fail. I think we all can agree on that. It doesn't look good. But this is not good. This is not good. Vance then said the Vatican should stick to matters of morality. Well, I think they are. They're saying, listen, this war is wrong. There's people dying. There's people suffering as a result of this. Now, you could disagree with the Pope on immigration issues, for example, and what have you. That's fine. I don't agree with everything the Pope says, but on the matters of this war, he's absolutely right. We're in a war of choice. We don't have to be in this war. We can get out right now. Now, Trump will look extremely bad, but this idea that he's got to mock the Pope, that he's got to, chastise the Pope for disagreeing with him, and all this other nonsense. Listen, all he has to do is say, listen, we disagree on this. That's all he has to say. And you could be for the war in Iran. You could be against the war like I am. I told you before, my stance on war is this. It's your last-ditch effort. That's the last thing you want. Or if you're defending yourself. That's when a war is necessary. But going to war like we know how we got into this war, and I just explain it to you. I don't have to explain it to you again. We got into the war for Israel. That's all. That's what it comes down to. And the Pope has acknowledged that this is not a positive thing, and he wants the war to end. There's nothing wrong with his position on that. He's absolutely 100% correct. So stop chastising the Pope about this war. Again, that's going to be his stance pretty much every time. Every time I go to Mass, we talk about how we pray that this war ends right away. So there's nothing wrong with being anti-war in this situation, folks. Don't think that you have to be pro-war because Trump is pro-war. There's no reason for us to be in this war. And I hope you're all very happy about us blowing another $1 trillion to our national debt. Just thought I'd bring that up to you as well. Speaking of law enforcement, speaking about things that maybe Trump and the Pope don't get along with, war, obviously being one of them, but of course, law and order maybe is one too. Now, I, for one, am very strict on crime. Obviously, we want to crack down on criminals, obviously. We want the streets to be safer in this country. That's one of the reasons why we elected President Trump. Yes, I think we all could agree on that. But take a look at this. This is out of Port City Daily. A case that just came to my attention yesterday. And I want to introduce everybody to Davy Spencer, the 47-year-old future Grammy Award winner from Wilmington, North Carolina, now facing multiple charges according to the Wilmington Police Department, including second-degree murder and 2 counts of assault with a deadly weapon with the intent to kill. Now, what did he do the other day that got him in so much trouble again? By the way, this guy's been arrested 60 times in the past. Just keep that in the back of your mind when you're listening to this. His arrest follows a 5-day investigation that began last Sunday at 2 a.m. when police were called to the 100 block of North 4th Street due to multiple fights escalating in the area. During the incident, 21-year-old Lance Corporal Daniel Montano of California was stabbed in the neck and perished at the scene. Another person sustained injuries but is expecting to recover. Yeah, so this guy stabbed a Marine, ladies and gentlemen, over a street fight that was taking place. Spencer was then arrested before in North Hanover County on drug charges and was sentenced as a habitual felon in 2015. His first appearance in court for the fatal stabbing was on Monday. Now let me ask you this. We talk about law and order. We talk about crime being obviously reduced. We talk about criminals being behind bars that are full of recidivism. Now, let me ask you this. Why would someone who's been arrested 60 times be put back out on the streets after all these massive charges that he's been involved in? Drug charges being just one of many. It's amazing to me. It's amazing to me that this obviously is allowed to happen, that we see good people on the streets being killed. Now, I don't know what this Marine did. It doesn't go into detail if he was involved with anything, if he was trying to break it up or what have you. But the idea that someone's first intention is to walk over and stab them to death, we've seen this many, many times in the past, have we not, folks? And again, if this was, I'm not trying to assert anything. The man, he's a black man, Mr. Spencer, and the person that was killed was, I believe, a white or Latino male, if I can say that. But why is it that we see this constantly? That's what I want to ask you. Why is it always we see it with one side against the other? Obviously, if it was a white man stabbing a black man in a fight, we would never hear the end of it. It'd be called a hate crime, wouldn't it? Obviously, this article is not calling it a hate crime. Why not? Every time it's in the reverse, it is. So how can it not be when it's like this? Because that's how the news media portrays it to you. But my question to you is, why is this man on the street at all? He's a habitual felon. 60 times he's been arrested. Why is he out on the streets? I saw another case, same thing. Another person killed over the weekend. Same situation. Another recidivist criminal back on the streets. We saw that with Irina Zarutka taking the train on the way home. Gets stabbed by a guy who apparently now can't even stand trial. But he could stand trial for the other 14 things he did. He was fine to be put back out on the streets, even though apparently he's not mentally fit to stand trial now. Why are we coddling criminals, ladies and gentlemen? It doesn't matter what race you are. It matters what you've done. And this idea that you're going to coddle somebody or make a lighter sentence because of their race is completely ridiculous. It's injustice for all, not injustice for some. So this is ridiculous. This could have been prevented. And I saw the footage of the guy. He's shouting at a woman before he goes and stabs this guy. I mean, it's ridiculous. We don't have to put up with this crap. And I think moving forward, one of the things that Congress should focus on is getting rid of these activists, liberal, leftist, whatever you want to call them, communist judges from the bench. I think that would be a good start. Don't you, folks? I think that'd be a great start. The only way you protect American citizens, all American citizens, by the way, is by putting bad guys behind bars. That's how you do it. That's how you solve these things. And when we have judges that think, oh, you know what, we're going to give you a light, we'll give you a light sentence. You're involved in all this nonsense, but we'll put you back out on the streets again. And then they have the nerve to tell us that the guy that just stabbed a woman that said, I got that white B word, is not fit to stand trial. It's amazing to me. These judges have got to go. They're what's wrong with America today, by and large. They're part of the problem about what's wrong with America today. Now, this next story I have for you is really something, too, by the way. It goes to the idiocy that we see in society, too. Now, it's bad enough we have Democrats that want open borders and, amnesty for all. But it's really bad when you have Republicans that have the exact same sentiments. This article's out of Breitbart. It says that Maria Salazar of Florida suggests Republicans should pass the Dignity Act it's amnesty for illegal aliens. And she wants you to do it, ladies and gentlemen, to prove that we're not racist. Isn't this something? To prove we're not... What the hell does that have to do with anything? I don't care if it's all Europeans coming across the border legally. Either you have border laws or you don't have border laws. Either you follow the rules or you don't. Why is this so difficult to understand? Doesn't matter if they're all from India. Doesn't matter if they're all from China. Doesn't matter if they're all from Mexico. I could care less. You either enforce border security or you don't. And she does not want to do that, apparently. She wants to reward people that come across the border illegally. This is what she said, though. It's impossible if we, the Republicans, if she wants to call herself that, put together a bill like this one on the floor for any Democrat with Hispanics. Supposedly, Hispanics belong to the Democrats. No, not anymore, because right now we're going to be demonstrating to the Dems that we are not a bunch of racists. That we are giving them dignity, not citizenship. Well, actually, that's what you are doing when you grant them amnesty. I mean, come on. What is this woman talking about? How you came here illegally? How you're working under the table? How you're taking some American citizen's job that they would normally take? You're the one cutting down wages? You're the one exploiting the system? You're the one granting access to what? Healthcare, public schooling, housing. Right? We talk about the cost of housing in America. Why do you think housing has gone up, ladies and gentlemen? Because you brought in millions of people here that are taking that housing. That more so Americans would be trying to get to, that they don't have access to anymore. We talk about healthcare in this country. Who gets a free healthcare in this country? Well, all you have to do is show up to the emergency room. They know this. The illegals know this. They get free whatever the hell they want. You are stuck with the bill. Your insurance goes up. Then you wonder why. Geez, I can't figure this out. Well, it's pretty clear, folks. This is clear as mud. And now we're going to do this broad amnesty bill now, getting millions of illegal aliens to remain in this country while expanding legal immigration levels? What the hell is she talking about, this woman? I think she needs to get her head screwed on right, or she needs to get out of her district in South Florida, in Miami. Oh, yeah. Yep, this is where we are, folks. These are Republicans in 2026. Yep, Joe Biden brings them in. We go, oh, we don't want to be called racist, do you? Oh, my God. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Either you have laws or you don't. Either you have law enforcement of the border or you don't. Right now, we seem to have at least operational control of the border, which is good. But we have millions, tens of millions of illegal aliens. We have tens of millions of expired visa holders still in this country, and we want to give them a path to citizenship now, to reward them for their abuse of the law. It's amazing to me. Amazing to me. No other country, by the way, acts like this. No other country has bills on their floor of their legislatures that say, you know what? We have millions of people that came in here illegally. They violated our laws. You know what we should do? Give them amnesty. Let them stay in the country right now, even though they have no respect for the law at all. Isn't that something, folks? Makes you wonder. Makes you wonder. Oh, by the way, we've got about 8 minutes remaining in today's broadcast. Let's not waste any time. I want to move on to this article I have for us, talking about our environment, of all things. And this one, I think, is very, very important. This is really interesting to me because we're talking about things that are now a big part of our airborne chemicals that are now detected inside the United States. This is out of the Mirror. This one shocked me yesterday just reading this. And researchers at the University of Colorado Boulder conducted a field study in Oklahoma that uncovered what they call now MCCPs. And these are medium-chained, chlorinated, paraffins? Yep. These come from industrial pollution. They come from things like flame retardants, lubricant additives, and plasticizers. And these MCCPs, they cause harm to the soil, other ecological damage, and potential harm for human risk as well. This is where we are right now in this world. Now, just so we're clear on this, these deposits date back to sometime traces that have been found in the 1940s, the 1950s, for example. They get released by factories, these toxins. They get pushed into the air, into the water, into the waste streams, and what have you. And they get into the environment through this manufacturing, through this production use, through this waste disposal. Where the hell is the EPA, by the way? How are we allowing this to happen? That these types of chemicals get into the air, or we breathe it in, or it's in the water supply, or it's in the food supply because it's in the soil. This is a cause for concern, folks. This is where the EPA should be functioning to dial this down. But here we go. Now, some of you might say, well, so much, Race. There's all these chemicals, exhaust, this and that. Isn't carbon dioxide, a problem? Well, you would think that they only care about climate change, the radical left, of course, and the environmental lunatics. But this is something serious. This is something that's actually really toxic for us. And for the first time in the Western Hemisphere, we're really coming to terms with what this is. Now, what happens when we, human beings, come into contact with these medium-chain chlorinated paraffins? Well, it can affect multiple body systems, the liver, the kidneys, the thyroid, the endocrine systems. It could affect disruption in metabolism, among other things, cellular damage, altering your enzymes. And we wonder why people are so sick today. This is the problem where we are today. How are these things getting into the atmosphere? Why are we not putting this down? Why are we not preventing this to be expelled into the atmosphere? Why are these safety regulations for this not there? This is what the EPA is all about. We shouldn't have these things in our society. We shouldn't have these things in our food supply or in the air we breathe or in the water we drink. And by the way, this is one of the reasons why I tell you, make sure you're drinking distilled water, that you're drinking water that's been running through that distillation process to get rid of all those forever chemicals that we seem to find all over the country. So this is problematic, and this is the reason why I bring this up to you, because we need to have assurance that, yes, sometimes things get broken down that we don't want to get broken down, but they do get broken down as a result of a process. But we should be stopping them from being pushed out into the atmosphere. We should be stopping their release into the water supply, for example. We can do all these things, by the way. But for some reason, we're not doing that. That's why I wanted to bring that to your attention. Again, it's very, very important that we do so. So, again, my big takeaway from you, obviously, try to drink distilled water when you can. Obviously, don't play in contaminated water and what have you. And obviously, if you're near a factory, you want to make sure that you're doing things in your home, like, for example, air filters in the house, if you can, if at all possible. That's very, very important, folks. So try to do those things if you can, because obviously it can lead to lots of damages. It could be carried out to your fetus as well if you're a pregnant woman. I mean, these are very detrimental things. And we should be addressing them, and this is what our Congress should be doing, not worrying about amnesty for all. Just thought I'd bring that up to you. Oh, by the way, I wanted to talk with you yesterday about parasites, particularly parasites that come from things like salmon, for example. This is out of the Gateway Pundit, so I think this is a good article we can close today's show on. And Dr. Peter McCullough wrote this article, and he said according to, his research, salmon can be infected by several types of different parasitic worms. And he gives you all the scientific names for them. That's not really important. But he says, while they can be infected in both the freshwater and saltwater fish, you got to be aware of this because parasites can enter the body. They can cause things such as cancer, disruptions of other things in the body system. But most people have no idea that parasites cause cancer. And I thought this was pretty interesting when I was reading the article. And one of the things I thought was pretty interesting, too, was that even though we tell you to buy wild-caught salmon, that's the most natural form of salmon. Obviously, farm-raised salmon is injected. They're given a bizarre diet that they shouldn't be eating. All the time they put dyes in these farm-raised fish and what have you. The wild-caught salmon is at a greater risk for having these parasites in them. Now, some of you are saying, well, geez, Derace, what should we do then? Should we get the wild-caught, which is supposed to be healthier, but it might come with the parasites? And I say to you, obviously, you should have the wild caught, but obviously you want to cook the food. You don't want to eat raw fish or raw, what is that? I can't stand it. I can't even think of what it's called now because I never eat it. What is it called? Oh, I can't even think of it. Whatever, it doesn't matter. The raw fish. Sushi, there you go. Okay. Took me a minute. I had a bite-in moment there. Okay, sushi. Yeah, I never eat raw food, by the way. But we should be aware of parasites. So let's say you have salmon once in a while. Let's say you do. And I do too, by the way. I try to get it wild-caught salmon from Alaska. That's usually a good area because what they say is the fish are more susceptible when they're in situations where there's more pollution or where there's more crowding of fish, where they might come in contact with other infected fish, and that's how they can contract the parasites. When their immune system's weakened, then they can't diminish the parasite in them, and then, they have all these complications, these fish, and then you eat the fish, and of course, the parasites could be in them. So, number one, obviously, you don't want parasites in your fish. That's first and foremost. So you want to get salmon not from Asia or parts of that. You want to get it from the wild-caught areas of Alaska. That's the most preferred location. Okay, so you've done that. But let's just say you do get salmon. Okay, and you're like, oh, geez, Jerace, I get salmon every week. What should I do? Well, there's a protocol you can use. There's 3 things you should get. And by the way, anyone can do this. And by the way, I've done this. I usually do this once or twice a year. I do this. And it's a parasite cleanse. It's a deep parasite cleanse that you can do. It's very simple to do. And it takes place over about just over 2 weeks. And one of the things you could do, which again is beneficial, you get 3 things. It's black walnut. Usually it's in a liquid form. You could obviously take it a spoonful of it, or what have you. And again, it's beneficial to have. You take it, and then you take cloves and you take wormwood. And what this combination does, it allows you to get rid of the adult parasites that are active in your body. It kills them. And it also kills the eggs that they lay inside your body. I know it sounds disgusting to tell you this, but this is the truth of the matter. This is the way you can get rid of these things. So, again, if you eat salmon, if you eat pork, for example, which I never recommend you to do because they carry parasites as well, go on a parasite cleanse. It's very simple to do. You get the nutrients and you put them in your body, and your body flushes and kills these parasites out. And then you'll see the bloating go away. You'll see the brain fog. You'll see all these things go away because they move throughout your body. So that's my recommendation for you folks. If you're eating these things, I thought I'd tell you that. That'll do it for today's show, folks. Thank you for being here as always. Share the show if you can. Stay prepped always. Have a great rest of the day. I'll see you back here tomorrow for more groundbreaking news on the next Marco Dre Show. Until then, be good. Stay busy. God bless.